The makeup patches on Donald Trump's hands are spreading, and Karoline Leavitt simply cannot cover up what's going on with Donald Trump's health anymore. We saw over the weekend at Donald Trump's golf course that the patch of makeup on his hand to cover bruising is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've seen this in different shapes and forms and iterations over recent time. And what's happening is that the cover-up is really falling apart. Karoline Leavitt is in a position where she needs to manage two aspects of Donald Trump's health. Number one, yes, it's the cognitive. It's the incoherence. You don't have to say he has dementia to realize that he seems regularly lost, doesn't know what's going on, saying things that make no sense syntactically, saying things that make no sense factually, rambling incoherently. Last week it was about grass and who the hell knows what else. So on the one hand, you've got the brain. On the other hand, you have Karoline Leavitt trying to always give as little information as possible about what's going on with Donald Trump's physical health. Trump's working very hard. Every day we are seeing how much energy he has. The bruising on his hands is from shaking hands so vigorously with so many people. These are really not explanations. This is damage control where you release only the absolute minimum. Now, the overall signs are really undeniable. We saw the swollen ankles. We were told no big deal. It's simply chronic venous insufficiency. Okay, well, wasn't on any of Donald Trump's health disclosures over the last decade. We've then got the the bruising on the hands, which we're not really being told what is actually the explanation for it. Trump shaking hands doesn't really make any sense. You then see, I'm going to Russia when he was going to Alaska, called Christy Nome, Christy Kerr, asks where people are when they're right in front of him, forgets things. So we've already built that picture up over time. The dissembling pattern is notable, which is that when Donald Trump is caught in confusion, when you see that look on his face when he's visibly confused, he'll make up details. He'll just make stuff up to fill gaps in his memory. And often what he comes up with doesn't make any sense. Now, the issue we're talking about here relates to Karoline Leavitt. Leavitt has a sort of impossible task here, which is she is trying to gaslight America into ignoring what's right in front of us. And she's clearly working with a guy who doesn't want to reveal anything. Karoline Leavitt or any spokesperson for a president could come forward and just tell the whole story. And then we would go, oh, that's the whole story. We can evaluate it for what it is. But she's not doing it because Donald Trump doesn't want her to. And the stakes are significant because you've got a 79-year-old here who can't remember countries and continents, and he's got access to the nuclear codes. And at a certain point, no matter how skilled you are as a press secretary, and to a degree, I'll acknowledge Karoline Leavitt has some skills. And when you really sit down, the way to analyze what a press secretary says is you step back and you say, okay, let me read the answer and let's evaluate each element of what she says and determine whether what she's saying is true or not. In a sense, she lies all the time, of course, but she has some skills for this job. But at a certain point, no press secretary can really spin away visible decline, where the emperor is degrading in front of our very eyes. And so I don't really know what are the next excuses that she'll come up with. Certainly, we don't know what the next health crisis is going to be. But Trump doesn't seem to be firing on all cylinders. And placing Karoline Leavitt in this position really asks her to do something that is extraordinarily difficult. Now, one of the things that I would expect is sometimes when there's an attempt to cover something up or kind of like manage in the public eye, sometimes there's an attempt to say nothing. And that was the attempt with Trump's hands and ankles for a while. The pressure got so big that then they went to, well, we've got to say something. And the something that they gave us, it doesn't ring true. It certainly seems only partially substantive. It doesn't feel complete. We know it's not the full story. And the reaction has been so disastrous that I wouldn't be surprised if I see them go back to the we're not saying anything at all. Last week, a reporter asked Karoline Leavitt, would we be able to speak to Donald Trump's doctors and get answers from them? And Karoline Leavitt just said, yeah, I don't know that that's really something that we're going to be doing. So I would expect that after their brief attempt at saying a little more, it went so poorly that they're going to go back to saying a little bit less. My expectation, what do you think? Let me know. info@davidpakman.com. Donald Trump has already packed his second-term cabinet with loyalists. He's threatened deportation as political punishment. He's expanded executive authority in ways we have not seen in modern history. These are real changes that are happening right now. And what's even more alarming is that a lot of the media is either glossing over the worst of it or they're reframing it so it all sounds a little more palatable. And that is why I use Ground News. This is a news comparison tool. Doesn't just feed you headlines. It shows you here's how different outlets, left, right, center, are covering the same story. And this is one of the few tools I know of that can really help you detect the political spin, the bias, catch stories that your usual sources might downplay or not cover at all on everything from immigration policy to economic shifts. If you want to get a bigger picture, a broader picture of what's being reported, Ground News is an invaluable source to keep you informed. And Ground News is offering my audience 40% off their top tier Vantage plan. You'll only pay $5 a month. Go to ground.news/Pakman or enter the code Pakman in the app to get started. The link is in the description.